Hey guys, so this is the first of a couple of videos that you're going to be working through. Um, and basically what we're doing is just kind of some intro research methods. Um, just kind of thinking about more, I guess, about keywords, and that sounds awful too. Hey guys, so this is the first of a couple of videos that you're going to be working through. So just want to kind of explain as a whole that some of our goals are kind of to build off of what you started in the library with your keywords and your research questions. Thinking about stronger ways to make your searches more efficient. And to build some stronger internet literacy in terms of being able to manipulate and filter what you get, because you can Google something and you'll get 50,000 results, and unless you kind of know how to work with those keywords and really kind of play with what you get, you could be sifting through forever. So the goal is actually to be able to do different searches that are more focused and get your good results to that first and second page each time you search, so that you're not having to sift through 50,000 things. And kind of just to understand how the use of keywords and research questions can kind of improve your research. Not that you always make this huge map of research questions and keywords, but kind of create that habit of mind so that you're doing it when you research and you're thinking about it that way. And also to develop some more keywords and some backup keywords and some stuff that you're going to be playing with later in the activity, and also to brainstorm some more of those kind of specific questions, those research questions that we started talking about earlier. This first part, let me go back real quick. You're going to complete all of this, as it says on the activity, in one document, and you'll submit everything at the end. Okay, so as you move through each activity, just sort of play with the one page that you're working with. So the reason why we're thinking about specific research questions, and we've kind of talked about this already, but I just want to review a little bit. There's a couple of goals for kind of breaking down your research this way. One, it breaks it up into different aspects of the issue. So you're not just searching the same 3 words, getting the same list. So you're thinking about what you need to know about that issue, like history or terms or studies or current events, or people's stories and testimonies. There's a lot of things that you might not know in terms of just information about that issue. It kind of also breaks this big, complex, abstract thing into these smaller, as Natalie said, bite size, concrete goals, things that you can Google and get information for, that are going to help you build a more well-rounded look at the issue, because they are going to kind of prompt you to seek more and think about more information and building your expertise about the whole conversation, so later you can place yourself in it. You don't want to just research one opinion or a set of opinions. You want to think about all of the things that are placed in that conversation. It does allow you to seek knowledge and information and kind of focus on that rather than just opinions, because you are going to find opinions no matter what. And it also allows you to inquire into some different perspectives that you might not understand or be aware of. So it's not that you're avoiding opinions altogether. That's part of the conversation, but that's not the only thing. If you're reading other people's opinions, those opinions are also grounded in information and dates and terms and studies, and you need to know that stuff too, not just the bigger frame of the opinion. Okay, so here's an example kind of set of some focused research questions. And my go-to example is standardized testing. How does it impact learning? So here's some questions you might ask about this. What are standardized tests meant to accomplish? So kind of thinking about the Wayback Machine, why did we even develop this concept of needing to test all the time? What problem existed that we were trying to solve? Has their use risen recently, or has it decreased? Are we using it more? How has it been affected by No Child Left Behind? So what's that relationship like? You might even need to ask the question, what is No Child Left Behind? What are some kinds of standardized tests that exist? How does standardized testing differ in private schools or alternative education? So do different teaching methods and curriculums and pedagogies do things differently? Does it correlate with negative or positive learning outcomes? So kind of coming at both of those. Do educators think they're helpful or hurtful? So we are getting into some opinions, but also you might could look into not just educators, but researchers also, like what do people, what do scholars and people who are involved in the profession think? And what are some alternatives maybe? So like if we're not going to test all the time, what are we going to do instead? So just a quick reminder of where you are with this. So you started this in the library, and we're not going to build too much on what you have, but I do want you to kind of rethink it and maybe add to it before we move on. But this is the example of Natalie's, the librarian's, Coggle map that she came up with. And you might not have a Coggle map, but you do have a list of questions in your notebook that we're going to be working with. So you either have a Coggle map or you have notes in your writer's notebook that we're going to kind of use to build onto that list. Okay, so I want to take a second and explain, I guess like a real world experience that I have. Like we talked about, like inquiry is something that scholars do, which is different than like traditional like classroom research when you're just getting like a term paper together. I had to write a thesis, which one of the chapters won a scholarship award, by the way, pat on the back for me. And I was just kind of looking into connections between Louise Erdrich's, a writer, who's my favorite writer, her reservation novels she writes about. She does kind of a lot of like historical fiction and that kind of stuff, dealing with themes of oppression and discrimination and all kinds of stuff with the Ojibwe, which is also Chippewa. And I was looking at her like reservation novels and comparing them to her adolescent historical fiction, which kind of does the same thing and kind of explores some of the same themes, sorry. And I spent an entire freaking semester just reading. I didn't have anything to say yet. I didn't know what I was looking for really, other than like, I have to write this thesis and I'm going to look for connections here because I like this writer. And I like her stories, and let me see what I can find. So I read for real, like in one semester, like thousands of pages, which is kind of where you are. Like you might know kind of what you're looking into, not know what you're going to find, and you have to do getting ready to do a lot of reading. So I had to read 4 or 5 of her reservation novels, just the novels, and do lots of writing. And I had to read the Birch Bark books, which is her adolescent series, with lots of writing. Also, I had to research the history of the Ojibwa people, especially like themes that come up in her books like health, relocation, economy. I had to research the culture of the Ojibwe, especially things that were recurring themes in both series, like supernatural beliefs, loss of cultural identity, discrimination. I had to do so much just reading about different things that were going to matter, because I couldn't comment on connections between these books if I didn't know anything about the Ojibwa people, history, current state, culture. I had to know all of that stuff. Then I could look for something to say, which was really scary getting off the ground. When I decided to do the research, I remember like my first meeting with my advisor, the main question I had was, what if I do all this research and all this reading and I still don't have anything to say? And she assured me that I would, and I did. So maybe that could make you feel a little bit better. Just knowing that you don't have to necessarily know what you're going to find or know what you will have to say when you get done with the research, but I assure you, you will have something to say. Okay, so here's what I want you to do with the research questions that you have. Step 1, take those questions from your Coggle map or your notebook and move them into this Google Doc that you're going to be working with, like copy paste, start typing it up, whatever. Step 2 is going to be read through any of those questions. So kind of take a second look at some of these research questions you might have come with so far and try to brainstorm at least 2 new questions that you haven't thought of yet and make necessary edits to the ones that you have. You want to think about dividing questions up so that they're coming at this issue from different places. You want to think about making sure you're using like really specific wording. The goal is to take this abstract question and break it down into concrete researchable pieces. So if your questions that you're asking are equally abstract, then you might want to think about continuing to break those down a little bit further or reword them. So you can, and here are just some ideas. You can ask questions about history or current situation, like things you don't know that are going on right now. Things you don't know about maybe that are going on right now or you want to look more into. Questions about people involved, maybe names that have come up in your research, questions about organizations or companies or news sources or whatever that's kind of that you've come across in your research so far. Think about specific terms or phrases that you don't know. Basically just kind of information that you need, current policies or laws that deal with your issue that you don't know much about yet, types of information you don't have, like statistics, studies, interviews. You can also think about, like, this deals with specifically like perspectives, like questions you have about different groups, like concerns, motivations, their experiences that would help you kind of understand where they're coming from. And when you are finished and you've got a couple of edits, you thought about your wording a little bit, then this is the end of this video and you can go back to the activity and move on to the next thing.